I was like a week out from having my second kid.
Sounds like you're in a great place.
I was like, Chuck Lorre wants to talk to me. He's like, what's and so, like,
Mommy's got to get on the phone.
I called him and like it was like, please don't cry. Just don't give away what's happening here. It's like chaos, you know.
Tries to reset our lives and fails to save the universe.
Hey everybody, I'm Felicia Day.
And I'm Wil Wheaton.
Welcome to the official Stuart Fails to Save the Universe podcast.
Every week we're sitting down with the creators, the cast and crew, and pulling apart whatever brilliant craziness they came up with for the episode.
We are talking about what the show is inspired by, what classic tropes it's riffing on, and where it goes completely off the map.
This episode is called Spoiler, Zack's in this one. It was written by Chuck Lorre, Zack Penn, and Bill Prady, and directed by Kyle Newacheck. Those are the official details, but it is becoming clear that every episode of this show is taking place in a different universe. So to keep everything straight in my mind, I'm thinking of this one as the Shock Collar universe. What are you thinking of it as?
I like that. I also think of it more as the AI surveillance universe,
Sure.
because that's kind of prescient right now. But yours is more pithy. We'll just go with that one. This is a good moment to give our actual spoiler warning. If you have not watched the episode yet, go watch it on HBO Max and come right back.
We will wait for you. Later in the episode, we're talking to executive producer and director Kyle Newacheck.
But first, we're sitting down with Lauren Lapkus, who plays Denise.
I am very excited to talk to her. I have so many questions, and it's going to be really hard to ask them without spoilers.
Yeah, I am a big fan, so I can't wait to dive in.
All right, let's find out how we do. Take it away, us.
Everybody welcome Lauren Lapkus, who plays Denise.
Thanks for having me.
I cannot tell you how much I love your interpretation of Denise, especially contrasting episode 1 and this episode 2.
Yeah, so the first episode, I mean, it was so fun to get to come and play the post-apocalyptic world. I mean, it's crazy. The costumes are amazing. The whole of the set deck was incredible. I mean, it was really, really fun. But then to go into the AI universe where it's almost like a sketch, like playing the game of the scene where it's like where we can't be rude. And even though you want to be rude, you can't say anything rude or you will be shocked and fall to the floor. We've learned not to upset each other.
'Cause it hurts.
Ouch.
I would love for you to talk about the three-hander scene with you and Tommy Walker and Kevin, where Stuart comes to get Denise away from Gary.
Yeah, she can't stand me.
I can't.
That moment is so funny. Like the dichotomy of what you are saying and how you are saying it, you are hitting a very, very small target from a very, very long way away.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and Tommy Walker, who plays Gary, is like amazing. And it was so fun working with him because every episode obviously is so different and he just changes so well. I thought he was hilarious in episode 2, just in that super happy-go-lucky.
But you together.
But no, it was very fun together. It was very fun to play. And I mean, just a blast to get to say all that stuff while beaming at Stuart. I mean, I never actually get shocked in the episode, but watching all the guys drop to the ground, I was just, there's that, in that moment when he comes to my apartment and he's just writhing for 3 minutes straight, I'm just like, I want to laugh so bad, but I can't.
Denise is obviously in a really unhappy marriage.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. It's so funny.
And it works somehow for them.
Would you just talk a little bit about balancing the how do you play the misery for comedy without undercutting the reality, which is why we're laughing?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fun game to play, to say things that are just wildly out of line with how you're presenting. It was very fun to play. It was just, I mean, and Stuart's desperate to break her out of this, but she's just not going to crack at all because this is the world that she knows. And she has her routine with Gary that seems so sad, where he just gets her drink every night and she can just squash it all.
You're an alkie.
Yeah.
She's only unhappy when she's sober, and that's not very often.
No, I have a little problem with the...
Tommy is such an ridiculously likable man.
Yeah.
And it makes it extra funny to me. Who wouldn't want to be married to him? He's lovely. Who wouldn't want to be married to you? You're lovely.
It should be great. It should be great. But but also I love all the stuff with Gary that in the first episode where they have this, this dynamic that is, you could tell it's toxic in a different way. Gary was seeing my friend Lisa.
Oh, nice girl. Yeah, Jewish.
And anyway, Lisa got eaten by cannibals in Sherman Oaks. And then for him to get killed, and then it's well, now what? And then we see him again, and he's toxic in a whole new way.
Yeah.
You're kind of is he going to die here? It's kind of not a big deal if they break up,
Was it fun to be able to work with cast that you've worked before with in a completely different context?
Yes, it was so fun. I mean, first of all, I've known these guys a long time. I babysat for Brian Posehn's son 16 years ago.
What?
When he was 1, yes. And so I remember playing on the floor with his son and watching Yo Gabba Gabba with Brian on the floor while we played blocks with his child.
Amazing.
So I've known him for a long time, and we've seen each other throughout the years and worked together in different ways. And of course on Big Bang. And then John Ross Bowie and I have like the improv background at UCB, and we've known each other for a long time. And then of course Kevin, getting to reunite, it was just crazy. It was so fun, and I feel so grateful that I was cast with these guys who are all so nice and fun to be around. We were always laughing, and it was a great time.
And what a compliment to be like, you want to create a show about me and my character,
insane.
right?
Oh, insane. No, I mean, I got that call out of the blue, a text from Chuck Lorre's assistant saying he wanted to talk to me, and I'm like, this can't be true. Like, I'm just like, I don't understand what he could possibly want to say to me right now. And I just had my second child, so I was like a week out from having my second kid. So I called.
Sounds like you're in a great place.
I was like, Chuck Lorre wants to talk to me. It's like, what's and so, like,
Mommy's got to get on the phone.
I called him and it was like, please don't cry. Just don't give away what's happening here. It's like chaos,
Yeah.
But then he was like, I have this show and I wanted you to be part of it. And I was like, that sounds amazing. That sounds great. They probably sounded like I wasn't that excited because I'm like whispering for my baby to not wake up. But no, and he was like, it'll be in a year. And I was like, and that's perfect. Oh my God, to be told you have a job when you just had a baby, you have a job in a year. I'm like, that's
It's like the best thing. You don't have to worry about anything
I'm
until
like,
then.
Great. But I don't have to feel stressed that I'm not doing something right now. And it's fine. Yeah.
When we were doing Big Bang Theory, if Chuck had said to you, in roughly 15 years,
Yeah.
I'm going to build a series around you.
I would have been excited, but I feel like there's that part of your brain as an actor where you're like, nothing people say is ever going to happen, because you have to build that in.
Yeah.
So you're not always expecting things to work out. I feel like I've now gotten to a place where I'm like, oh, they said I might get that part. I don't think. Maybe I will. Whatever. You just turn off that part of your brain that you still are hopeful, but it's not that blind hope. So I think I probably would have been like, that's so cool that you think that, and then be like, I hope that happens. That'd
And
be
now
nice.
I'm going to go back to my life.
Yeah.
Was it amazing just walking on the set to be on the call sheet permanently as your number? Was that exciting?
Yes. Oh my God, no. I think every actor is like, oh my God, that's the dream. And I love that this show is such an ensemble, and we are in so many, most of the scenes we're in together. I think it's, especially as the series keeps going, that just to get to go every day and have fun with everyone was a blast. We really I truly feel like it was one of the happiest sets I've ever been a part of, from every position. Everybody was so happy every day. The crew was truly this is such a fun job, where everyone had good vibes. Chuck and Bill and Zack all happy. It was truly we were just having fun. I feel like for Chuck and Bill and Zack, Zack has the Marvel background more, but for Chuck and Bill to make something that is where they can kind of write whatever they want and then it appears.
I feel
it's just a blast.
I feel like they have a great Lennon McCartney relationship.
Yeah.
Where they have their strengths, and they have their points of view, and they kind of pull each other in different ways, and they always seem to land.
Yes, and
just
I got
in a
to
really
watch
nice
them
place.
negotiate scenes a few times
Yeah.
when they were rewriting something on the fly or whatever, and then you kind of hear how they do it, and it was really fun to watch. I mean, I don't know if I was supposed to be listening, but I enjoyed hearing how they navigate each other's personalities and senses of humor. In the first episode, I wanted to tell you this, that there was the moment when Kunal's character is shot. The moment when Kunal is like, I'm fine, and then lifts his beard and he's not fine, that was all in the moment that Chuck just saw that and came up with that joke, and I was like, oh, this is why you're who you are. I was it was just one of those moments where you just go, yeah. Oh, that's such a great pitch. It's amazing.
Every now and then you get to work with somebody, right? And we've seen their work happen, right? But then we get to see it happen right in front of us.
Exactly.
And it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to watch you do that.
You made all those shows and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, obviously you wrote them. But then to go oh, and that's how you just saw that and did that. Oh, it's genius, yeah.
I remember when I was doing sketch comedy at Acme and a little bit of improv with theater sports, that I would come and see you in shows all the time. You're very funny. You know this.
You were the funny. You continue to be the funniest person in town.
That's
always.
That's so nice. Thank you.
On a sitcom, we are not allowed to improvise.
Yeah.
Because it is a symphony, right? And you cannot break the score, right? But sometimes in a single camera, it's more like a jazz concert and you're allowed to grab your instrument and have a little solo.
Yeah.
Did you have moments like that where you're improvising experience and you're that natural instinct to yes and somebody?
Oh my God. Well, it's
that
hard
it
to
comes
control
in?
it sometimes. This didn't have much improv because, I mean, you know, Chuck and Bill and Zach wrote tight scripts. Like and I mean, everyone's so funny that we could go for days. I think for myself in this environment, it was more about my reactions and letting myself do kind of whatever I wanted and like let Denise have her inner world that is having thoughts about what everyone's doing, which I feel like gave me a lot. So I enjoyed that.
Do you want to disclose any offstage bits, any off-camera bits that reoccurred throughout the season?
I don't know if I can say them.
You know what? That's all you have to say. I am so envious of your cast. I was already envious. Now I'm double plus envious.
No, I feel like every single one of them is not okay to say.
Man, those are the best.
Just gross.
Fair.
That's great.
But you as a performer, it's so interesting because you've had a big run with Orange is the New Black and The Wrong Missy. You've played pretty out there characters, and yet now you come to this character just from going from combat pants to like a buttoned up 50s shirt.
Yeah.
Is there a Denise center that you sort of like hold on to because all these externals are changing so wildly?
I do think the Big Bang Theory Denise is the core. And so there are moments where I think we see that more. I would say like later in the season, there's a couple moments between Stuart and Denise that really harken back to that first series. I do think she is a grounded force in this universe or all the universes, that she's kind of like a voice of reason for the guys a lot of the times. And I think it's necessary to help balance the scales a little bit. I really enjoyed in later episodes, she gets to have a little fun and get a little crazy. I would love to have one where she's off the wall. I mean, you know, I want to do that all the time. So I would love to do that. It's fun, like in each episode, there's a different thing to play. And, you know, even just the genre or the wardrobe and how that affects you, I could kind of create nuance within her in these different worlds.
It's very early on, but I am getting the sense that she might be like what we would refer to as the audience's connecting character. Right, that she's kind of she's gonna ground us in a little bit of a reality.
Yeah, there are many moments in the show where she's being the voice of reason, which I mean, I think that's kind of the audience perspective. Like, well, the logic is this, or wouldn't we need this, or like how? So I do think that's an important element. So much crazy stuff is happening that we need to explain, and she also doesn't understand everything all the time. So she doesn't have that science background that the other guys have. So she's kind of the emotional voice of reason, not the logical. Like, here's what we do next.
Is there anything you do? I mean, I know Julia Roberts. I read has a scrap of a jacket from when she's 16 to cry. Like, is there something that you have? I know. I read that. And I was like,
wow, I didn't know that.
I just cut up an old jacket. I'm like,
I was like, will that work for me? No, I don't care enough about a jacket. I'm sorry. Is there anything that you like, a mantra or like a body position that you're like, okay, this is who Denise is?
Yeah, I mean, I did try to have really good posture the whole time. Sometimes it's hard when you're tall because you want to relax and not be the tallest, you know.
Of course, yeah.
But no, posture was important to me because I feel like Denise had very straight posture. It's the comic book outfit that she had, the comic book store outfit with the polka dot usually, or like some sort of like funky button down under the comic book store shirt. She's kind of like not tightly wound, but she's kind of like pulled together. Like it's so I wanted that to be there, but I also the universes affect you, so it's hard not to like shift with the wardrobe. And I think so much of like every episode, my wardrobe was so different that there's a couple where you see a similar vibe to how she was before, and a couple that are so different that it affected my whole body, you know, and in a fun way. I enjoyed leaning into it.
I believed you that you had killed a lot of people in the apocalypse world. I'm sorry.
Dude, the outfit told a story. And the goggles and the gun. I mean, it was very, very cool stuff they put together. Val Claret, she did all of our wardrobe. Is
really?
Incredible. And she had so much fun, like pulling. I mean, seeing her like mood boards for each episode on the wall, I was like, this is the coolest show. Like just every episode is so different.
Let's talk about the action scene with the drone attack versus the resistance.
I mean, that was really fun to shoot with lots of practical effects too. They did fire off all these little bombs around us. It was awesome. And they gave us earplugs, and I was like, all right. And like I don't know, I think it's fine. I don't think it's like so loud it's gonna like hurt my ears. And then we're like running through as like the things are firing off around us. And the next time I'm like, I'm just gonna tell you this. I can't really hear what you're saying, you know. And then the second it started, I was like, I regret this. And it was like, it was insane. It was like running through, like, I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah. You learn after being on like a very physical set, you're like, yes, I will take the knee pads. Yes, I will take all
Always.
that.
Oh,
Anything
man.
they're offering you,
Yeah.
take it. 'cause
Yeah.
you're
We
gonna
always
want it,
want to
yeah.
be heroes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly,
No,
but you're not going to
it's
be a hero
necessary.
there.
No.
Talk about reconnecting with some of our friends from the Big Bang cast when you get to the Resistance. By the way, 30 months entirely unreasonable.
Oh my God, I know. Well, I mean, Kaylee is amazing. It was so great to have her back. It was so much fun. I mean, I'm not bringing her back, she's bringing me back. It's really all folds in on itself when you start to think about it.
When you joined Big Bang Theory, I think you came in around season 10, right?
It was season 11 and 12 that I was
Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
So you're there for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And by that point, this is an incredibly well-oiled machine.
Yes.
We all know our characters. The crew is just one of the greatest crews ever.
Yes.
I have said in interviews, every day I was on stage 25 was the best day of my life.
Such a blast.
So to go from the experience of being on the Big Bang Theory in the multicam environment to playing a similar version of this character with some slight differences in a single cam environment, you have to change the sort of size of her.
Yes. I mean, it's much more subtle, much more grounded. You can have fun in the little moments in a way that you wouldn't pick up on necessarily on a multicam. Like small details are caught, you know, everybody's being cut to, and you see all these little things. So I really enjoyed that. And I think for the way that the show is an ensemble, it's great that it's single cam because we're able to each have our little moments within every scene. Everybody gets to be a full part of everything. It's not just waiting for your little joke, which, by the way, I love to do as well.
On Star Trek, we called it bullshit, my line.
Yeah.
Bullshit, my line.
Yeah.
Bullshit,
Well,
my
'cause
line.
We all did that.
I mean, sure.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah, sometimes it is. And sometimes with the multicam, it is that, as you said, like it's like a symphony and you're like, I want to hit my note. I want to get there right at the right moment.
Yeah.
And so you are kind of just like eagerly, jumping in the double dutch a little bit. But yeah. And I think the story is so wild that you don't need to show that to everyone as the actor. It's like we're experiencing this. It's insane, and I'm still a person. Yeah. So I'm still gonna react, as honestly as I can without flipping out.
Grounded.
Yeah.
Denise, as a character, is a comic book nerd. What about Lauren? What are you a nerd about? What would you say you're nerdy about?
I have always been a bit of a collector, and I have a lot of collections that I've saved from my childhood that I still have everything that I've ever owned, basically.
What?
At a certain point. As a child, I collected soaps that were unique shapes, pencils that were had unique toppers, Beanie Babies. I still have all these things. American Girl dolls, handmade versions to the store-bought, everything in between. So I took great care with my collections. Like all my toys were always very organized and clean and perfect. And so I definitely appreciate fandoms too. And I appreciate how much everybody loves all this stuff. I did a podcast with Nicole Byer called Newcomers where we watched things for the first time that we had never seen. We watched all of Star Wars. We watched all of Lord of the Rings. I managed to be in the improv world in my 30s and not have seen Star Wars. There's lots of references happening all around you that you just don't get. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
In this economy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, we watched those two, and we watched a lot of Marvel movies. And all the Batmans. I now feel very well versed in a lot of that. I'm grateful for the podcast because I got to learn so much about all this stuff. And I've seen a lot of it. I know people are talking about it. I get all the jokes.
That's the kind of beauty of fandom and nerddom. It's like your body chooses what you want to do.
Yeah.
And if that's American Girl dolls.
And I still love them. And my daughters, I got them American Girl dolls.
You didn't let them touch yours.
Well, they haven't touched them yet. No. It's very much like those are mine. And when you're old enough to respect them, you can play with them. I'm like, I can't watch them be dragged around and have their hair not brushed. It's just... That's upsetting.
I feel like there's a day when you're a grandma and there is a terrifying room in your house because it's filled with just dead-eyed staring American Girl dolls
That's
who are
how that happens
come
to
into
people.
our room. We're
Oh my
waiting for you.
Well, because I have
We've prepared
all the
a seat.
sets. I have the skis. I have the tea set. I've got it all.
When did you find out from the executive producers, the writers, where this was headed? Did they give you lead time on scripts?
No, for the most part, it was under wraps, which I actually appreciate because I feel like I was able to just focus on the world that we were in at the moment. It's just exciting in each episode how it's a totally different environment. The set decorations are down to the smallest detail have changed with each episode. It's just super cool. So it was fun to get to just enjoy those. And then the second you're kind of sick of like one element of it, you get to move on to the next thing.
I was
So
going
it's
to
great.
ask about that because
Yeah.
it seems like it would be impossible to be bored on this. Like, there's no opportunity to
Yeah.
get bored. Like,
No.
even when you're on a show that you love, you're like, oh, good, we're in that set again.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
after a while, it's
Yeah, you
like,
don't really
oh
think
my
about
God.
it anymore. But like with this, there was always something to be like, oh my God, they did that. Oh, we're gonna do this next. And so it was very exciting and kept us on our toes.
You have hosted a ton of podcasts.
Yes.
This is our first podcast together.
Oh.
Got any notes for us?
No, you're naturals. You're wonderful. You're killing it. Yeah. You got the flow state. It's all about the flow state.
That's amazing.
It's really
Yeah.
just me eating craft service and letting Will do the work. I like this job.
Give away the secrets.
We never
last-
had cameras. I basically never really filmed my podcast.
You
This
were
is
an
a-
OG podcaster, and
yeah.
now it's like a Pokemon. It's evolved into
Yeah.
its next state, and it's like,
I
well,
know.
why don't I have that?
Yeah.
Listen, you'll have
I could have whatever I want in podcast land.
now.
It's super effective. We're working on a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
We want to find out from everyone who sits in that chair, you could pick any multiverse to go
Mm.
live in. What would the rules of that multiverse be?
You know what? I'm going to say something polarizing just for fun.
Okay.
I have a dog, but I'm going to say no dogs. Let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens. What becomes the dog?
Wow.
I'm not against dogs, but I'm saying what becomes the dog?
Can I vote for foxes?
Foxes.
Okay, great.
See, that's
great.
interesting.
Okay, that's okay.
You could have a
Because what I
fox.
heard was no dogs, and I don't want
No,
no
you're
dogs.
gonna have nobody wants that. That's why I said polar. No, nobody wants. It's not even polarizing. Just nobody wants that. But
Yeah.
I think foxes. It'd be interesting to see what changes because I think that's what's interesting with the show is how like you take one thing away. What does that mean?
What if everybody had large tarantulas on leashes?
Oh no! Now I want the dogs back. I don't. No, I don't like.
What
that.
if the American Girl dolls were alive
Oh well, that would be very.
and they
fun.
knew they were dolls?
They know they're dolls, but do they still have their historical context?
Yep, and every day they just beg you to kill them because their life is so horrible.
That's the 2030 AI-powered American doll collection. They're sentient but have no will.
Lauren, we are just at the beginning of what I know is going to be a fantastic journey this season. It's so fun to watch you work.
Thank you.
I hope you will come back later in the season. We can talk about some more stuff because we won't worry about spoilers.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah.
You
it's
are-
so hard not to spoil.
No, it's so hard. And just, you are the shining star in female comedians right now. And it's just so wonderful to see you on the show, just carrying it. And just, I want to be on this journey with you for so many seasons.
Thank you so much.
I love her. I love talking to her. And I loved
amazing.
her sweater.
It was a great sweater, wasn't it?
She looked great in red.
I just have this terrific feeling talking to her like, one of the kids from the block made it.
Yeah.
It's just, I think I'm going to feel like that a lot this season.
It's true.
Coming up, Kyle Newacheck, director and executive producer. He made an episode where losing your temper gets you tased through the neck. We have questions. Really excited to welcome Kyle Newacheck, legendary director from all your favorite shows, including this one.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you, and happy to be here.
So Kyle, you are the director, but also executive producer of this show. Can you talk a little bit about how you differentiate those two roles?
Well, I think, I try to lead as the director. That's like the big job that I like to do. You get to add more of your voice, but when sharing the responsibilities with other directors, it's pretty good to have the overarching voice be kind of, able to let the guest directors know where we're living, how the shots feel, what is happening, especially in a show that is kind of as insane as this one.
Yeah.
It just felt that it needed some of that consistency, creative consistency throughout.
In this show, every week it's a new universe with new rules and new expectations. Would you just talk a little bit about the expectations that you set up in the first episode that define our world, and then what you do over the next few episodes to maintain that continuity?
Setting the tone on this project was fun for me because it's chaotic. And like you say, it changes. So once I realized oh, I'm doing the pilot. Okay, cool. I got that. And then it's like, well, the second one kind of feels like a second pilot. And then you kind of go into the third and the fourth, because I did all those back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And then the third felt like a third pilot, and the fourth yet again felt like Another pilot, because the worlds were changing so much, the tone was changing so much, the consistency that we had are the characters.
Yeah.
So in terms of tone setting, I just latched on to the characters and their journey throughout the universes. But then each episode had its own like wildly different aesthetic. And I was drawn to that. I really thought that, like, wow, what a challenge as a director to be able to just like about face on what you've set up. So as a comedian, you know, subverting expectations, this is a dream.
Yeah.
Because you thought you understood it, and then by the end of the episode, you don't.
Yeah.
And then you spend another episode trying to figure it out, and you kind of think you get it, and then at the end of that one, you don't. So I like that trick. Yeah. I thought it was cool. I thought Chuck, Bill, and Zach just had so much fun with that. I think it's something that actually is rooted inside of me. Coming from sketch comedy, like doing sketch comedy on the internet, you're always working with different tapestries. And it kind of reminded me of my roots a little bit, yeah.
Real quick to the audience at home, Kyle directed and released an amazing video called Wizards Never Die back in 2008.
I remember seeing this because I've made web videos since 2007. So I remember seeing this and being like, oh my God, this is awesome. And to be honest with you, just watching that video again, I'm like, it's just as relevant now. It actually would go viral today on TikTok. What did you learn from doing that on a no budget that would bring you now to this obviously very big budget comedy, but still you're just being irreverent and funny and subverting tropes and stuff? Like, what do you think the through line is in your career from then to now?
I think I've always enjoyed trying to ground the absurd. Like, you take something that's really absurd, you know, wizards, to set the premise, they're just like wizards like Gandalf or and you know, like from Lord of the Rings, but they rap like, you know, Tupac and
it's so
Biggie
funny.
Smalls and
Abracadabra.
and
I'm gonna kill you with my staff.
yeah, take my staff and I'll stab you.
Stab you, that's it, yeah.
Just the math you have to do to make that grounded in my head feels really cool.
Yeah.
You know, I like it. And it's actually reminding me of just like Gary Larson and Far Side. When I grew up, those were my favorite single panel comics where
Same.
it was like just cows having like regular conversations about their daily life and sardonic responses to each other. And I think that that's just really in my DNA as a comedian, as a filmmaker. It's what makes me laugh. And this show kind of allowed me to ground something incredibly absurd, like, you know, reality jumping. Yes, I did start on the internet. I did do I started putting my stuff on YouTube. I still have a YouTube channel out there that I haven't looked at in 12 years.
You're probably
You know what I mean?
demonetized.
Like
I'm just telling you.
I never monetized. I never
Amazing.
monetized anything.
That's great.
It was
No,
probably
I never
early.
monetized anything.
It was probably too
I never
early.
clicked that button.
Yeah, it's
it was,
crazy.
We didn't have that. No, we were just making short films and putting them up there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it feels like now it's all these other opportunities to monetize and to make short form content and to be an influencer and to get, you know, free shoes for talking about them and all that stuff. But really, it makes me happy that these artists are finding a platform to test their art, because that's what I was using it for. That's what it started as, was like, can we just make this and test this idea and put it out there and see what people think about it?
Yeah.
You know, like at the end of the day, that's what we're doing, is we're making stuff, you know, because we need to express ourselves, because we have to fill this massive hole.
I want to get specifically into this episode and this AI controlled universe where everyone is forced to pretend that they're all very happy with each other. Everything's very straight. They're like, especially I'm thinking of John Ross Bowie in the scene with Ricky Lindholm, where they're just trying so hard not to just blow up at her. And it's so funny, the tension in these scenes where of course we want them to break.
Yeah, it was actually a challenge on this particular episode because the buzzer was the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you count, the buzzer is used probably like 12 to 15 times. And when you have a physical runner, it was a challenge to make that feel different every time, So I think that's why when you have one character like Ricky Lindholm who lives in this universe, she knows how to cap herself, but also her eyes are saying what she really feels. Like, her eyes are saying like, I hate you right now, but her mouth is saying something different. This isn't like mind control. This is what you put out into the world.
I don't make appointments. You'd have to contact their personal assistants.
And John, Kripke, being fresh to this world, we had a lot of fun trying to play with when he gets zapped, when he decides to say it, when he says the thing that he can't stop, and then past that moment, when it's actually buzzing, one thing that differentiates them from each other is the like how long you do that before you fall, and then how long when you hit the ground after the stuntmen take the fall, like then you go in and you do it more. Like we were always experimenting with the nuances of the buzzer itself. Kevin has my favorite one in the episode when he's this is probably my favorite scene in the episode is the one with Kevin and Lauren and Tommy when he's like, I've come to claim you.
Oh, I love it.
And you can clearly see that Denise and Gary are conditioned to say just the nicest things possible.
I'm not upset. Denise, are you upset?
No, of course not.
And then at the end of that scene, it was kind of like one of the last scenes we shot. And it was like, Kevin, we really got to like do something to make this one stand out.
Yeah.
And so he did it all himself. He buzzed and then he fell to the floor, and I bring the camera up and above and get this cool graphic shot, and he's just shaking and he doesn't stop. He's shook in that take like till the end, and every time it just cracked me up.
Well,
and the sounds that were coming out of his mouth were so funny. It's just great.
When I looked at a lot of the things you've done, I'm sure that you did improv and Workaholics and What We Do in the Shadows. I know some of the actors, and I know there's so much improv on that. But I imagine this was more like word for word, but really the buzzer is where you really get to improv. You as a director are feeling the rhythm and being like, okay, we're essentially improving until the length is right and makes the scene sink.
Which is so interesting because it really is word for word, like we're changing things here and there in terms of the dialogue, but very rare are we doing it. So it's a testament to the rhythms that the writers, Bill and Chuck and Zach, know how to put forth. I mean, Chuck and Bill, having done this on the stage for so many years, are lightning fast in the moment, and they're not into just randomly doing improv, to see if it sticks in the edit. If it's not functioning right here in the blocking rehearsal, then let's fix it and then let's stick with it.
Yep.
I truly loved that about this because it was a restriction that I'm not used to. Having worked with, my guys on Workaholics, like we were always just like, fire it off.
Yeah.
And then when I did What We Do in the Shadows, that was a lot of improv. And even Sandler, like before this, when I did Happy Gilmore 2, there was a lot of improvisation in that and trying to do it for the edit. But these guys, they do it for the stage. They fix it for the stage. And I really, really loved it. So my playpen was everything around those words. My goal was to try and shoot all those scenes without a ton of coverage, all the dialogue, so that it could act like a sitcom. It could be like a warm blanket, because Big Bang Theory and those sitcoms, those are warm blankets to me, just the rhythms of it.
It's comfort food for me, man.
Yeah.
I don't hear it that often.
Yeah.
I don't hear those rhythms that are just like wonderful as often as I'd like. So on this one, it was like all respect goes to the rhythms of the the comedy, the words, and then they were like, and then what are you going to do with the action, Kyle? And I'm like, oh, I can do all of that, yeah.
I mean, you've obviously done high budget stuff, but this feels so crazy high budget for a comedy because, I mean, every set piece is just another world and there's explosions and special effects. Like, was there anything that you learned doing this that you hadn't done before? Was there anything you were excited about or had problems with?
Well, yeah, I actually have never done sci-fi.
This is your first time, like that big, incredible drone fight, and this is your first time playing in our sandbox?
It was badass.
That's wild. I had no idea.
I'm trying to really think. Like, I've done the fantasy with What We Do in the Shadows, and I've done like some nods to sci-fi and Workaholics, but to be honest, like, a lot of it was new to me. Like, all the machine and jumping through and big old, like, one of the best conversations. We did not know how they were going to jump from, like, when the machine turned on, we didn't know what it was. It wasn't defined,
The bubble, the phlegm bubble was not defined, so you kind of had to, like, workshop it?
The phlegm bubble, yeah, exactly. So I think, like, it was written as, like, origami, like the universe kind of folds in on itself and then it reconstructs. When we got into it, Bill Prady is sitting behind me all the time watching this, and I'm like, so what are we talking about here? Like, what's the reality of like jumping through time and space? And I remember having like it must have been a 3-hour conversation from the monitors to after wrap to being this, where he's trying to explain like 4D space in, there's some really high concepts in there that I was like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then at the end of it, I was like, so it's kind of like a lava lamp. Like,
oh, that's perfect.
Like,
it is a
that's a
lava
great
lamp.
image.
there's no real hard edges. This is like a blorb. And that's what I called it, was just like, this is like a blorb. And
It's
like
100% a blorb.
And thankfully, that is a funny object. Like, just the idea of the bubble that moves and can make like squishy sounds and stuff became comical. And that was our whole goal. Everybody had the same goal. We're making comedy.
Yeah.
We don't care about cool or anything like that. We're making comedy.
Yeah, it totally fits. It's a little Doctor Who-y, but in a totally unique way that is Blorby. It's Blorby.
Yeah, it's Dr. Blorb.
So I want to talk about a casting in this episode that I adore. Christine Baranski.
It's so funny that when we see her, I'm like, oh no, it's Leonard's mom. And while I'm thinking that, she goes, hello.
I'm theater, film, and television's Christine Baranski.
Was she written in the script, or was she someone who got cast during the casting process?
Christine was in the scripts for sure. And she's so good. It's like, oh, that's great. I have no qualms.
I wanted to ask you about that sequence with her. There's a few things that I noticed that the nerd in me was really excited about. The deprogramming technique that's being used on everyone in this universe is very similar to the Ludovico technique from A Clockwork Orange. I feel like this scene with Christine Baranski is very similar to a scene from the old Simpsons Treehouse of Horror where Ned Flanders is turning everybody into the Flanders universe, and they're all forced to watch him on the monitor.
Well, I think you're, that I don't know, man.
Who knows?
I mean, knowing the EPs, I don't think anything happens on this show by accident.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think they're echoing stuff that has inspired them and then putting a comedic premise around that. I mean, we used a lot of metaphors to discuss all the different universes. Mm-hmm. You'll see the color palette from the first one to the second one, it just changes dramatically.
Crazy.
Yeah.
First one's covered in dust and covered in blood, and the second one is like just crisp and clean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
the second world is so much more unsettling than the first world.
It's true.
isn't that wild? Yeah, it's wild. It's wild how that worked. And such a wonderful payoff at the end of the first episode when you're like, okay, now the pendulum swung all the way over here now. And you don't know what's happening.
And yet, visually, like, it's not jarring. You still feel like you're in the same universe. You're in disparate worlds, but it feels like the same show every episode, which feels like it shouldn't happen.
That's a rule I found in genre comedy is don't let your coverage get in the way of the laughter. So how you frame a shot for a joke needs to be presented as, for a written joke, needs to be presented as a pretty standard issue, straightforward shot. Sometimes, you can get away with changing that shot if the situation is like intense and the joke itself is counterintuitive to the intensity of the Dutch angle. For example, my camera's all over the place in the first episode. We're twisting, we're up top, we're pretty close. We're doing a lot of big moves, in that one. And then I took that down for the second one. The second one, most of it, until you get to the drone sequence at the end, most of it is very conventional.
Yeah, you're right. It's very placid, very regular. And then suddenly you have this immense sequence of drones. You have all these angles. The camera goes crazy. There's all these explosions. And
Like you're
special
doing an
effects.
action movie.
Yeah, how long did it take to do that sequence?
The slaps and all the action took us about 3 days. That's what we had to do it with a second unit. I'm just pretty good about boarding those sequences and letting people know what shots we need to get.
We find out some really great things about the Resistance. First of all, yeah, we did call you 30 months ago. I don't know what you're doing. So funny.
What do you want from me? I'm running a rebellion here.
It is perfect and unsurprising that Penny, played by Kaylee Cuoco, shows up as the leader of the Resistance. What was a little more surprising to me was to find out that her dim-witted sometimes boyfriend, Zack, who I love, played by Brian Smith, is also there. So, they're coming in, Kaylee and Brian are coming in with their existing characters. The audience knows their existing characters, but they get to shade them a little bit and make them a little bit different for this.
No, Penny's a lot different, let's be honest. I mean, I've seen...
Okay, that's fair.
Big.
Would you talk a little bit about bringing back, you did it in the first episode with Raj, but now we're bringing back two more beloved characters from The Big Bang Theory. How do you handle that? The responsibility, the expectation, and all of that?
I think the way that I do it is, there's a certain kind of ignorance that's at play that is helpful, that I can tap into, because I know that the nostalgia is super important, the characters, but I'm telling a story about this world, and these guys need to play this part in this world. So for me, it was kind of easy to detach a little bit and say, you're the leader of the Resistance. There's nothing more than that, you being grounded in this world is what matters to the characters whose story it is.
Kaylee did such a great job. Did she slap anybody in the face? Because there were some vigorous
That
slaps.
looked really rough.
It looked so rough, and she was good. I was like, did she work out for this? It was solid.
I got to give her credit. She must have swung her hand like 100 times that day. And a testament to the creative blocking, where she didn't actually make contact and everybody had to sell it. By the end of the day, I felt like she was like my relief pitcher. I was going up to her being like, you okay? How's your arm? How's your shoulder?
She's been doing Pilates because she looked great. She did it awesome.
Yeah, she did it. She's tough, and she knows how to throw a slap.
Would you just, I feel like, especially with your experience starting out as an indie filmmaker, would you maybe have something to share to someone who is watching this, who is at the beginning of their creative journey in our industry, wherever on either side of the camera, something that helped you when you were getting started? Like, if you could just go like, hey kid, I really want you to hear this.
Yeah, I think I would just, with all the different avenues, with me it was a little simpler because I knew I wanted to make movies and make comedy. I knew it. That was what I was trying to do. Even if I thought in my brain that I should make something as cool as the Coen brothers or like PTA or like, I want to be as cool as those guys. I want to get an Oscar one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those are real thoughts that you have as a creator or as an artist. But I think really honing in on what makes you tick, keep it stuck to that. You know what I mean? Keep it, what makes you want to watch this? I'm prepping Grown Ups 3 right now, and I just had a conversation in front of the whole crew, an impassioned speech where it's just like, all I want to do, like it's becoming so complex, and I'm like,
This is your
frustrated,
patent speech?
And I'm like, all I want to do is give people an escape for 2 hours from their silly lives and give them something that they can get away from all this and just laugh, and that has been my driver for my whole career. It's like, where's the laughter? I mean, with guys like Curry Barker, who just did Obsession, he's making stuff that he likes. He's making what he wants to watch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing what makes him lean in on the screen. And I think that's critical. Make what makes you lean in,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
Yeah. Well, we have one last question we asked every guest. If you could live in one multiverse, what multiverse would you pick?
I mean, I'll get real meta here, but I would choose to have a career back in the 90s when all the all the residuals were functioning and the theaters were functioning. I would want to go right back there.
Yeah.
Residuals.
That would.
We're going to call that the regulated universe, where the monopolies are broken up. Yeah, that was a great universe to live in.
That was nice.
Listen, if there's room there, maybe we'll come and visit.
We'd like residual checks too.
You know what? It might happen. It might come back. Maybe it will. I got hope.
You know what? All we can do is keep making stuff we love, just like you said.
Yeah, truly, it doesn't matter.
Thank you so much, Kyle, for joining us.
Yeah, man, you have done such an extraordinary job setting up this series and setting up our cast.
It gets crazier.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for everyone to see it.
Yeah, so thank you.
Wait.
Thank you for what you set in motion, man.
Awesome. Peace out, guys.
Bye.
Dude, Kyle Newacheck is a legendary director, and he's a guy.
Dude. I mean, just his origins and his creativity.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I hope I get to work with him one day.
Yeah.
Huge thanks to our guests, Lauren Lapkus and Kyle Newacheck.
The next episode is called Spoiler, Bert is Magic, and you can watch or listen to us discuss it right after the new episode drops.
Stream new episodes of Stuart Fails to Save the Universe on HBO Max and catch the official Stuart Fails to Save the Universe podcast on HBO Max, the HBO Max YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcasts.
You have options, is what we're telling you. Wherever you choose to get it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
That's right. That's our show. Oh my gosh. So much fun.
Yeah, this is great. We will see you next week. Until then, bye.
Toodles.
This has been an OBB sound production for HBO Max, co-hosted by Felicia Day and Wil Wheaton.
Executive producers for HBO Max are Becky Rowe and Kenya Reyes.
For OBB, executive producers are Michael D. Ratner, Scott Ratner, and Toby Lawless.
Producer for OBB, Toby Lawless. Production manager, Kevin Lynn. Segment producer, Jesse Holland. Associate producer, Patrick Strapazone. Technical director, In-Sung Huang.
Editor, Jesse Holland. Post-production supervisor, Mariana Crisostomo. Assistant editor, Mark Alcacid. Production accountant, Zachary Steinberg, and Ross Hush.
Director of photography, Heath Gresham.
Production designer, Liz Klukowski. Set designer, Aga Shostakovska. Lead man, Kevin Fallon. Set dresser, Robert Pound. Brian Kim, Shabazz Burwell, and Zachary Taylor.
Sound mixer and editor, Josh Falcon. On-set mixer, Darren Bowling.
Key hair and makeup artist, Kendall Shannon. Hairstylist for Lauren Lapkus, Kylie Gross. Makeup artist for Lauren Lapkus, Katie Middleton. Wardrobe stylist, Kristen Ingram. Wardrobe assistant, Sonia Desai. Christina Pombo Valdez.
Production assistant, Max Jordan. Production interns, John Thalbom and Ava Grimes.
Senior Director of Creative Development and Social Strategy for OBB is Lenore Castro. Manager of Creative Development and Social Strategy for OBB is Sharif Bakare.
Special thanks to Graphic and Artwork, HBO Max Concept and Design Studio. Creative lead for DC, Victor Diaz. Show props courtesy of Sarah Snyder and Miley Casera.